Welcome to this episode of the Engineered Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Korth, and if you've been following along with us this week, we've been talking about qualities of the perfect savings vehicle. And I've shared with you that there are 5 qualities that I think a financial institution worthy of holding my savings should have. Number 1, they should respect their customers. Number 2, they should keep my capital safe. Number 3, I want my capital to be liquid and available to me at any time for any reason while it's on deposit. Number 4, I want a decent rate of return that's going to keep ahead of inflation and grow my money while it's on deposit. And number 5, I'd really like to get some tax benefits while my money's sitting there. So I've shared with you that, in my opinion, a whole life insurance policy held at a mutual life insurance company is the perfect and most powerful savings account out there. Now, this isn't technically a savings account, right? There's a death benefit that comes with it, but structured properly, we can turn these policies into the coolest savings account in the world. Certainly the coolest I've ever found. Yesterday, I shared with you some of the evidence that these life insurance companies are extremely safe places to hold your capital, especially when you compare the numbers to some of the big national banks. Today, what I want to talk about is the liquidity piece, okay? Now, if you've ever gone to get a loan from a bank, you know that it is an extremely arduous process, okay? All the way from getting a credit card, which can take just a few minutes online, to getting a mortgage, which can literally take months, okay? And so, it depends how much money you're looking for. It depends what kind of collateral you'll have. It depends how long the loan is for, all of those things, right? But generally, there's some kind of application process. There's an approval process. There's a credit check. Sometimes there's an underwriting process. There's a lot of papers to sign. It's a big deal, right? But if you've got good credit, if you've got a job, if you've got good references, generally you'll be able to get the loan that you ask for, right? But there's a saying where credit is easy to come by when you don't need it, right? I've had several instances where I've had friends or family members that got down on their luck for whatever reason. They had a bout of unemployment, or whatever it was. They were going to school or whatever, and all of a sudden the banks wanted nothing to do with them, right? Now they needed some credit, and the banks wouldn't give them the time of day. Okay, well, that's a bad situation to be in. Okay, so when it comes to getting your savings now, that should be a little bit different, right? Because your money's just sitting there, right? If you look at your statement, it says right on it how much you have on deposit at the bank, right? But I don't know if you've seen any of the videos going around, in the last few months, especially as the COVID-19 crisis was starting to hit and everybody was getting scared. People were panicked and they were going to the bank and they were trying to withdraw their savings, okay? And there are videos out there of people trying to get $3,000, $5,000, and the bank managers won't give them their money, right? Now, whether that's because the money wasn't there, they just literally didn't have it, or whether it was the bank had implemented temporary policies because so many people were trying to get cash, they were limiting how much any one person could take out. The point is, it didn't matter how much money you had in the bank, you couldn't get it. You could only get what they were willing to give you. Okay, so getting a loan is one thing, but getting your own savings out, that should be easy, right? That should be a simple matter of saying, I've got this much on deposit, this is how much I want, give it to me in cash, a check, whatever you want, and they should turn it over, right? That's not how modern banking works. And another thing is, you'll find if you try to take out $10,000 or more in cash in a single transaction, they won't do it in front of you, but the bank is going to fill out something called a suspicious activities report and report you to the federal government, because apparently only terrorists and drug dealers would ever want $10,000 in cash, right? So hopefully you're not planning to go buy a car or anything like that. That's just stupid to me, right? If my money is there, if I've in good faith given it to you to hold, I want to be able to get it back when I want, in any amount that I want, for any reason, okay? So that's how it works at a bank. Let's talk about the life insurance companies, okay? When you open a whole life policy, a portion of your savings, when it's structured properly, a minimal portion of your savings will go to cover the death benefit. The majority of your premiums is going to go to something called cash value, which is essentially like a savings account, okay? And that money is contractually available to you before it's available to anybody else. So when you want that money, all you have to do is call up the insurance company. They'll verify how much you have available. They'll ask you how much you want. You tell them an amount. They'll verify your address, and the check will be in the mail. Okay. Generally, within 3 to 5 days, you can have that either sitting in your bank account through a direct deposit, or you'll have a check in the mail. Okay. Now, I've done this multiple times, literally walking from my car to my office, which is less than a 5-minute walk. I've processed these loans start to finish. Okay. It's that easy. And what I love about it is there's no credit check. There's no application. There's no underwriting. There's no, well, sir, we can only give you this much today. There's none of that, right? Now, the way you access these loans or this cash is a little bit different. It's what's called a policy loan, okay? And technically what's happening is you are taking a loan from the insurance company, not from your account, okay? And so what that means is the insurance company is looking at how much cash value do you have available, and they use that as collateral to justify making a loan to you. Okay, so say you've got $25,000 in cash value. Generally, they'll give you a loan somewhere up to around 95% of that. No questions asked. Okay, they're not gonna ask what you want it for. They're not gonna ask, how long you're gonna take to pay them back. They're not gonna send you statements every month asking for a payment. They're just gonna send you a check. Okay, and is there interest on these loans? Yes, there is. Okay, we'll talk in another episode about why I don't worry too much about that. Okay, but the point is, unlike a bank, you can get as much of your money as you want, anytime you want, for any reason. Okay, so let me share just a few examples of how I've accessed this benefit in my own life. Okay, I opened my first policy in September of 2013. My wife and I had just purchased our first home. And when we bought it, even though the house was 12 years old, the backyard was dirt, rocks, and weeds. Okay, so we have several little kids. We wanted a nice backyard. So we put our money on deposit, and one of the conditions was, because we had this money sitting in the bank, we could have just gone to use it on a yard, right? But I explained to my wife, look, if we put it here, our money's going to start to grow. We earn interest and dividends on it, but then we can take it back out and we can still buy the yard. We can do both things, right? We can save our money and we can go get the yard. So she thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool. And so that's what we did. We put the money in a life insurance policy. It started growing at 4 to 5% is what we're seeing. We almost immediately took that money back out, paid a landscaper, and he came in and he put in a nice patch of artificial grass. We live down in Arizona, and real grass is hard to have. Put in rock, made it a beautiful yard, right? But, and we wrote him a check, and off he went. He was happy, but we still had our money essentially on deposit with the insurance company, right? Now, we had to pay that loan back, but that's money we were going to spend anyway, okay? So we paid that loan back, and then every dollar you put back immediately becomes available to borrow again, okay? Now, a couple of years later, we needed to buy a new car. So we could have taken a loan for, all of it, or we could have put down a down payment. Well, if I take money out of my bank account, that's money I can't go do anything else with, right? So what we did is we took a $4,000 loan from the life insurance company. We went and gave the car insurance company a $4,000 down payment. What that did is it lowered our monthly payment, and it didn't mean we had to take any money out of our checking account, right? So what we did is we gave a smaller payment to the bank every month, and then we took what we would have paid on that extra $4,000, the down payment we made, and we gave that back as a policy loan payment to the insurance company. And every time we did that, every dollar immediately became available for us to borrow against again. Okay, we've used this. Last year, my wife and I took an incredible anniversary trip to the mountains in Colorado. We used a policy loan. It was awesome. Paid it back in a matter of months, but again, no cash out of pocket, right? We just paid it back a little at a time, and every time we make a payment, that cash was immediately available for us to use again, okay? One of my favorite ways that we've ever used this is when the power of having a huge pool of liquid capital available to me at any time for any reason really hit home, okay? We were about a year and a half into owning this first policy, and one of our family members had some serious medical issues and needed a surgery. Okay. Now, my company had recently switched over to HSA plans, high deductible health insurance plans with a health savings account, HSA. Okay. But it was the beginning of the year. We didn't have enough yet in our health savings account to cover the huge medical bills. Okay. So if I remember the numbers right, I think the bill that we got was like $8,000 out of pocket. Okay. So we were able to cover about 3 with what was in our health savings account, but then we drained the health savings account, right? So we still had this $5,000 liability, right? So I didn't have that in the bank. I didn't have that to give them. So I could have put it on a credit card, but that sucks because now I'm paying interest on it, right? And then it occurred to me, shoot, I've got this money sitting over here in the life insurance policy. I could take that and pay off the bank or pay off the hospital, and then they're going to get off my back. And then we can just pay this back as we need to, right? But then I realized something even cooler. Because it was January, I could plus up the contributions I'd planned to make to my health savings account and by $5,000, okay, because it was the beginning of the year. And so I went and did that. I talked to my HR department. I said, hey, I need to put an extra $5,000 in my HSA this year. They did that. They started taking more out of my account. But what's awesome about that, okay, so at the end of the year, I've put an extra $5,000 into my HSA, okay? Now those dollars are tax-free, so I didn't pay taxes on $5,000, okay? I took that $5,000 as a distribution from my HSA. I paid off the policy loan to the insurance company, who not once had ever come to me in that whole year and said, Dan, you haven't made a single payment. Where's our money? None of that, right? They never said a word. So I paid it off in one fell swoop. And the taxes that I saved more than covered the interest that I paid on that policy loan, okay? So you see what happened there? By having this huge pool of liquid capital, we were able to pay off the hospital in January so that they weren't going to bug us. They weren't going to send me to collections. They weren't going to charge me any interest, right? Hospital was done. I'm able to put tax-free dollars away into an HSA over the course of a year, while the insurance company, who I have a $5,000 loan with, is never bugging me. They're not sending me to collections. They don't care if I ever pay it back, because if I don't, they'll just take it. They'll deduct it from my death benefits someday. Okay, so they're not bugging me. So I'm able to accumulate that $5,000 tax-free in my HSA, take a distribution from the HSA, totally pay off the insurance company, tax savings cover the interest on the loan, and I still had like $100 that I saved in taxes. Okay, that is powerful. Now, is that a lot of shuffling? Yeah, it was. But because I'd taken the time to get educated on how these worked, to learn about this kind of advanced tool, I was able to use it and do all the shuffling to make that work. Okay. Now, my absolute favorite way to use this policy loan is to invest. Okay. Because as I mentioned several times before, one of the provisions of this policy is that I can borrow against it. Again, the insurance company is using my policy as collateral. My cash value is collateral, but they're not, when I take a loan, they're not giving me my money, right? They're giving me their money. And so my money continues to sit in my policy as cash value, earning 4 to 5%. No deductions when I take a loan, okay? So what I can do with that is I can take a policy loan of the insurance company's money using my cash value as collateral, and I can go put that to work in an investment, earning a return somewhere else, right? I can go buy stocks with that. I can go buy bonds with that. I can go buy a piece of real estate with that. I could go buy cryptocurrency with that, okay? But my favorite way to do it is to take those loans and go buy a piece of real estate, okay? Now we're going to get into the numbers in the next episode, but the power of this is I can now go buy some other investment. And with that investment, I'm earning some kind of return, right? If I'm smart about it, I can generate a stream of cash flow, okay? So now I'm getting cash flow from my investment, but those same dollars are effectively earning a second return of 4 to 5% in my insurance policy, okay? So can you see the power of that? I'm compounding the same dollars in 2 different assets at the same time, okay? That's how we shrink time and go to financial freedom maybe in 30 to 40 years, down to the 10-year time frame that I'm working on. I'm trying to share with you guys. This is how it becomes possible, because we're using tools that most people aren't willing to take the time to learn about and leverage them to the maximum benefit, okay? So big takeaway today, huge benefit to these life insurance policies. You can access your money anytime you want, in any amount you want, with just a phone call, okay? Sometimes, depending on the amount, some companies require you to fill out a little form and send it back to them, all right? It's not an application, it's a form that says, hey, I want this much, and you sign here and You send it in, you're done, right? In other cases, it's just a phone call. Most cases, it's just a phone call. Something you can do in a matter of minutes, and the check is on the way, right? You can use it for anything you want. There's no credit check, there's no application, there's no underwriting, none of that stuff. It's easy, okay? And it's liquid. That is one of the most critical things. When I'm putting my savings away, I want to be able to use it. This is a reason I hate 401ks, okay? I put my money away and I can't use it. If I lose my job, it's very difficult to get that money, right? I can't do it without raising my hand and asking my employer and the IRS. Both of them have to agree that I can have this money back, right? And when I do, the IRS is going to take a massive chunk of it before I ever get it. That drives me crazy, okay? I don't want my money locked up. I don't want it inaccessible. And I don't want it to only be accessible if I get permission and I give the government a huge chunk of it, right? I love that about these policies. It's all there. It's all mine at, simple request. Okay. So think on that. Think about what that would do in your life, right? How could you use that provision to enhance your lifestyle? Could you take a vacation with it on dollars that you're compounding 4 to 5%? Okay. You can earn that return and you can still go on vacation. Okay. You can get that return. You can still go buy the car. You can still put the backyard in. You can still take out pay the medical expenses. That's so powerful. You can use that liquid capital to enhance your lifestyle, to cover your expenses, to accelerate your investments and still earn 4 to 5% on it there. Okay. I hope the power of that is something that's coming through as I'm explaining this. Okay. So think about that. Tomorrow, we are going to get into my favorite topic, which is rate of return. And this is where, again, we get to really start acting like a bank. Okay. I shared previously the insane returns that banks get because of the way they operate and they leverage your money. Well, tomorrow we're going to talk about how you can do the exact same thing by leveraging these policies. All right. That's what I've got for you today. I will catch you in the next episode. Have a good one.